Hey, you guys, I want to jump into something a little bit deep with you today, and I hope that you're prepared and that you want to go here for a minute. I want to talk today about forgiveness, right? And forgiveness is just it's this thing that is so liberating, but it's something that you just kind of have to be at the point that you're ready to do it before you can do it, right? It's not something that is always easy to achieve, but I think we all understand and we know and we have felt the effects of forgiveness in our lives, right? When we have practiced and offered forgiveness to others, and when we have been the recipient of forgiveness in a situation where we needed it. And so, as we talk about emotions and the importance of our emotional well being, it's so important that we touch on this topic because the lack of forgiveness can literally be prison, right? It can feel like prison. In fact, Nelson Mandela, right, great political activist and humanitarian leader, he's quoted as saying, as he was being released from prison, he said, as I walked through the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness and anger behind, I would still be in prison. And I think that is so powerful. That is the essence right there of why we need to forgive. It's not about the other person. It's not about releasing somebody else from the wrong that they did, or letting them get off the hook, right? But it's about our own freedom. It's about our own emotional well-being, right? So that we can be released from the prison of being hostage to the feelings that that situation incurred. And so as we talk about forgiveness, there's a couple of thoughts that come up for me, and I want to share an experience with you that I had. You guys know that I love essential oils, right? And there's this essential oil blend from doTERRA called Forgive. In fact, I have it here and I wanted to show it to you. It comes a couple of different ways. It comes in the pure blend here, and then it comes in a diluted roll-on touch bottle. And I love this blend because I had an experience with it shortly before they came out with this blend at the convention a couple of years ago. I'd been going through a time in my life and my business where things had been shaken up quite a bit, and I was just really disappointed in myself. I was frustrated. I had lost a lot of confidence. I had some things going on in my head that were just not serving me well, right? And I didn't realize sometimes forgiveness is something that we need to extend towards others, but more often it's something that we need to extend towards ourselves, right? And we might not even realize that. I didn't. In general, I'm a pretty good person. I live a decent life. I wouldn't have thought that I was harboring negative feelings or resentment or guilt or frustration toward myself on such a deep level. But I had an experience where I realized I had this inspiration, this thought that came to me that I needed to sit down and write out a letter just speaking all of the things I forgive myself for, right? I forgive myself for all the things that I wish I would have done and the things that I didn't know yet that I should have done. I forgive myself for allowing myself to feel small, right? Whatever it is, and I just wrote out this whole letter. And that was so liberating to me. Just the process of writing that and getting it out of me and onto paper, it was like the first step in releasing that from my being. But the thing was that process didn't close the loop for me completely. And about 3 days later, after I had wrote that letter, I was traveling when I wrote that letter, and then I was on my way to the doTERRA convention. So I went to the convention, and they released these beautiful emotional essential oil blends, and one of them was the Forgive blend. And I love this blend. And in fact, I'm going to read you the description of it because I just think it's beautiful. It says, "Are you carrying a burden that grows heavier with time? Would you be better off just letting it go and facing a future unfettered by anger and guilt? When you are ready to move forward, the doTERRA Forgive blend of tree and herb essential oils will help you discover the liberating action of forgiving, forgetting, and moving on. Start each of your tomorrows relieved and contented with Forgive Renewing Blend." The part that I love about this and that has stood out to me from the very first time that I was introduced to this oil was the idea of when you are ready, right? And we've talked about that a little bit, that we have to be at a point that we're willing to say, you know what, I'm done feeling this way. I'm done holding on to this. I want to be free. I want to be released from prison. I'm not letting the other person off the hook, but I'm going to release myself from the feelings of all of this being stored inside of me, right? So from back to my experience, right, as I was writing this letter out, and then the Forgive blend comes out a few days later, I was able to use that Forgive blend and just put a few drops on my hands, and I would smell it while I reread that letter that I wrote to myself. Because as I did that, it just allowed me to anchor in that choice, right? I am choosing to forgive. I have things that I'm frustrated about. I have things that I'm ashamed of. I have things that I don't feel good about, or that I wish I could change. But the reality is I am where I am. My life looks the way that it looks. and I want to move forward unfettered by anger and guilt, right? And so that Forgive Renewing blend was so helpful to me to just be able to anchor in that process as I would reread that letter. And then I came to a point within a couple of days that I didn't feel I needed to do that anymore, that I had really closed the loop and was done with that. And in fact, just in preparation for this video, I went back to reread that letter. I still have it in a journal here. And I went back to reread it, and it was just a neat experience of realizing that I really am done with that I had let those things go, and that I've moved on, and so much has shifted for me in the last year. And so for whatever it is in your life, right? Things that require forgiveness, whether from somebody else, needing to extend forgiveness to somebody else, or things in our own lives where we need to extend forgiveness to ourselves, it can be heavy, right? It can just feel heavy. So if you're experiencing that, and if you're feeling like forgiveness is a step that you're ready to take, I encourage you to try that Forgive Renewing blend and see how that goes for you. You can use it many different ways. You can diffuse it, you can put it on topically, excuse me. But I love to just put a few drops on my hands or roll that roller bottle on my hands and just breathe it in while saying to myself, reading the things that I've written, or speaking to myself, I forgive myself, or I forgive so and so. Another quick experience I wanted to share with you. A couple of weeks ago, I was in the morning, for some reason, I was kind of drawn to the Forgive oil, and so I chose to use it before going to a coaching workshop with some other women that I'm in a coaching program with. And as we did that, at the beginning of the workshop, our coach led us through a simple meditation of just, tuning into our hearts and what do I need to know for today, and what's important for me to do in this moment and in this day. And that I had this realization that I was holding anger towards a person that I didn't realize I'd been holding on to for years. I had no idea that I had deep within my heart this, hint of anger and frustration and resentment towards this person. And if you had asked me, I would not have said that I had that. I just had no idea that was hidden in there. But I thought it was so interesting because I had used that Forgive blend that morning, and then had this opportunity for that to come up for me so that I could address it and release it and be done with it, right? So really cool things as you begin looking at emotions and essential oils. And as you just open yourself up to the idea of forgiveness, and to being willing and ready to move forward, to release yourself from the pain of holding on to things that have caused you hurt in the past. So hope that's helpful to you guys. If you want to stay connected, just subscribe to the channel, and I will see you back another time.